Greetings, Saberites. Anonymous here, Vornok joining me. And again, we have with us Damon, General Sun, coming from his hideout wherever he is. How you doing, Damon?
Good. How are you? It's good to
Very
be here
good.
again.
Oh, great to have you.
Thanks.
This is one of our, we'll be doing a few of these here. If you tuned into our last one a while ago, we introduced you to the fundraiser that we're doing here to help out Damon here with life, and actually in the process put some really cool material together for all of you guys. And we're hoping to take all of this stuff that we've done so far, all of these years, and really bring it to a new place and really push this stuff forward to a place that I don't think it's ever been. That's really exciting. I know Damon's been working on something for a very long time, never got to put it down. Obviously, we're continually working on all of this stuff. So bringing it together is going to be a really great thing. We hope to get together with a bunch of people from different walks of life, from different groups and martial arts and everything like that, with Damon, and in April, and come up with really
a catalog of new material.
Yeah, everything. We're going to be, I mean, it will be a lot of new material, just tons and tons of it.
Yeah, it'll be really great to be in a room full of people and like co-created kind of stuff. I kind of feel like it's like, if I put it in the Star Wars universe, I feel like it's a type of holocron in the true sense, where like it's almost like different chapters with the different takes on something from different people who practiced.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can think about like what would be the information in a holocron, and that's exactly it. You would like look up something, and then you could see like probably hundreds of different people's versions of it. Well, that's what I imagine. But
yeah, the holocron is super ultimate USB drive.
Exactly. Right. With the ultimate cloud computing or whatever.
It's a laudable goal, and it's more and more. It's one that we can actually realistically make happen.
Yes, absolutely. And I think getting together too, what it will be the first true Sevens Forum Symposium, where we're actually getting people together in the same place. Of course, we'll have people being able to stream in, and we're hoping to get some really awesome guests to help make that symposium really special. So tonight, what we're going to be doing is kind of going through kind of what we're thinking, and how we're thinking, and how we kind of put these things together. If you've been following the blog that has just recently been up, we'll put some links in the description and everything like that. I've posted the full formula for Shicho and for Makashi, and we got a lot of good feedback on it. I think a lot of people like that type of thing, and what you're going to learn here tonight is that that's the tip of the iceberg. Just we've got so much stuff built up from our experiences that, you know, it's going
to figurative and literal volumes of material.
Yes, absolutely. But anyway, why don't we start off this way? Shicho. We always say start out with Shicho, and there's a reason for that. It's obviously that's what they say. That's what they say in the comic books and the video games. So we have to follow that. But we also have a good reason for it, and we've designed it like that. And we'll throw it over to Damon here too. Our Shicho is the basics of everything. It's simple footwork, simple strikes, simple parries. And it's just there to get you kind of used to moving and all that stuff. We based it on military styles because military styles need to be taught to complete novices very quickly. And you need to get a modicum of skill within a very reduced amount of time.
Yeah.
And if you can follow those basics, you'll do okay. You're not going to be a champion or anything like that, but if you ever get attacked by a guy with a sword in an alley, you'll get out of it alive.
Yeah, I think it's a difference between being a champion and being a survivor, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I always say the difference between fighting and self-defense is fighting is the object is to win, and self-defense, the object is to escape. So you can successfully defend yourself without throwing a blow.
Right.
But so that's where we're coming from. Now, anybody who's been in this thing for a long enough period of time will inevitably come across Damon's video on Shicho. As far as lightsaber martial arts, you can pretty confidently say that that is the first true lightsaber form. Duhan's solo set or something like that, in the tradition of, say, the Asian martial arts and all that kind of thing. That sort of vibe. So now there may be people may have come up with earlier forms, but Damon's is the form that most people do. Most people see. It's the one that's out on the internet all the time. So it's canonized. It just is.
Yeah, it was just documented at a really specific time when all this was happening, and I think people latched onto it. You know, there's always people that come before and always people that come after.
Yeah,
and it's important to know that all of those places need to be honored.
Yeah, it's a continuum. It's not like this happens and it moves forward. It's just a continuum of constant change and people coming in and out and adding their things to it. That's a really good point.
I think another element of it is up until then, most of what people were seeing was work that was designed to be choreographed for entertainment. And this was probably the first most visible work that had a practical look to it.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And and even though you guys were still kind of using it mostly for choreography, like you said, the set itself is it's a legitimate form. It's not,
yeah, and it's also I wanted everyone's choreography to look good, and
right.
so I really wanted the Shicho I did to really give people a sense of posture, so they weren't just flailing around. That they could really just put some intention behind very specific movements, and then as they grew with creativity, they had that sense of posture from the beginning. So hopefully that integrity would inform more advanced moves wherever they learned it. It didn't matter to me where they learned it. What mattered to me is that they had posture. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. No, we're exactly the same way. We put out our videos there because we saw a lot of people who were, kind of intuitively feeling their way around this stuff. And that's all well and good, but
yeah, but you can also just break yourself if you don't have a guide. It's important to have there's a reason Krishna drove the chariot, and didn't just destroy the world, even though he had the power to do it. It's like it's really important to realize that mentor-mentee position, or Athena turning into an old man, where we get the name mentor in the Odyssey and teaching Telemachus. There's this thing about, when it's not surrendering or submitting some sort of rank or authority, it's just also just going through a process of either with a technique or with a teacher or with a philosophical construct that gives you a center, gives you a posture, gives you an attitude to go forth, so that your basics are informed and you're not just salad barring, picking, becoming a white belt in everything and then calling it, the Grandmaster Dragon style or whatever.
That is far too common. Yeah. And that's exactly right. You're trying to inform your basics. And that's why we started out advocating for the gear, because when you have gear on, you can really hit them. and you can feel what that feels like. And so that when you go back and you do your solo training, then you can bring something else to your solo training. Oh, this is what's required of me.
Yeah, man, it gives a kid. I think there's an aspect of kinesthetics that are really important with that. When you have a feeling, either if you're using gear, like, you know, like your pads or your helmets, or you train enough control where you can just really, almost like with push hands, have a kinetic relationship. But it's like both can teach, I feel like, that same idea of kinesthetics. It just depends on what attitude you want to approach it with. Do you want the bang, 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 bang attitude, or do you want the kind that's, you know, it's everyone's essential nature, you know?
Yeah, I would argue, because I'm Tai Chi guy, you know, and he can tell me when I fight, I'm in there. I grapple. I don't even care.
I think you're absolutely right with that. It's like, it's interesting, the more of the soft arts that you get, the more you actually become more aggressive in some ways. It's like it's like the yin informs the yang, and the yang informs the yin.
Right. Yeah. Because the thing is, like, the soft styles, Tai Chi, I always talk about this. What makes it so soft is it's wrestling, right? That's what it is. You're wrestling somebody. Now, in order to wrestle somebody, you have to grab them, and in order to grab them, you have to be close enough to grab them.
Hold on, man.
You know, people in a fight generally don't want you to get that close.
That's right.
So,
you have, and I think what also with, I think the fantastical thing about the lightsaber is like having a light blade that's just gonna kind of like hack through something, like just, and it's almost like effortless because it's so powerful in that way. However, if you wield something without a sense of weight, it feels really, it's like those really flimsy practice swords you see. Yeah. There might be a lot of flashy moves, or there might be a lot of precise technical postures. However, there's a gravity to the practice itself that you're witnessing, no matter what its technical ability, that I think is lost in having things that don't challenge your body in the sense of weight or timing or distance.
Yes. Yeah. And we've got all these weapons right here, so we can kind of demonstrate it. Grab one of those guys.
One of these.
The difference here. So this is a real steel saber, right? Can be used for SCA and all that. Obviously, it's very beat up and old and rusty and shit. But so that's this. Now, this thing is close to 3 pounds, okay? And it is weighted way out here, right? Which means when you hold it out like this, it wants to drop down, right? Whereas with that one,
trying to poke you in the face.
Yeah, that's okay. It's balanced about the same place, right? But it's unbelievably light.
What is that?
It's foam.
Yeah, that's a LARP sword. I thought that was a LARP sword.
Yeah, it's a LARP sword. It's a
it's Elrond sword or something, right?
It's a goblin cleaver from The Hobbit.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, so this, right, really, really light. But the thing about it is there's no feedback with it.
No real resistance or sense of inertia.
Right. So
made by the elves, you know.
Yes. So like people have always, you do want a light weapon. You don't want it too heavy, but you do want some substance to it. And you want a balance point, especially in a saber that's pretty far out, because for me, spinning a saber like this is way easier than spinning a saber like that. Just like this. Because this has something that I build up inertia. I can let this carry it around.
Mm-hmm.
right? Follow that. I have some sort of mass and inertia to follow, to move, to use. It's like the Bhagavad Gita, the gigantic Bhagavad Gita.
Oh yeah, that Slayer looking thing.
Yeah, those are not weapons. Those are strength training tools. Those are there because you can't just flail those things around. They weigh like 9 pounds.
One of the things about the purpose of a weapon is to be, if you're fighting with it, it's a force multiplier. It's so you want it to have some weight, some way to generate that extra mechanical power.
Right. So, and I know in Rebels, the TV show Rebels, they did establish that lightsabers have some effect that makes the blade heavy.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I did a video on it a while back. But yeah, so the lightsaber blades, not only do they have some sort of weight or some sort of force to them, because Sabine picks it up and says it's heavier than I would have thought.
Mm.
You know, and then they appear to stick to each other when they lock up like this, but then can also slide a little bit.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So you have all the elements you need for a bind.
Right. Exactly. You know, all of that kind of stuff. But anyway, as we were saying, what we're really getting at here is that forms and all of this stuff, they're not just silly little things, and they're not supposed to be just direct. This is supposed to look like a fight. You know, we get a complaint a lot. Oh, you'd never turn your back on your opponent because you see somebody spinning in a form. It's like, well, duh. We wouldn't. Why would you think we would? Because we're practicing it in this form? It's like, you practice it in a form in the event that it happens to you, not as your plan. Your form isn't your plan for your opponent. You know, you've got to come into everything fresh and know that's your opponent. They're not going to do what you thought they're going to do.
Strange things happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Once you start engaging with another person, we have seen some really bizarre events happen in the middle of the free play that we've done.
Oh, yeah, really weird things. But like Damon, you're saying, when you see people who don't do that for a living and they're just kind of doing a form that they kind of learned, just kind of piecemeal from here and there, there's a quality that is missing. There's an intent. In Chinese martial arts, we call it yi, where you can tell this person is focused on doing something. They're not just kind of you know, walking around and dancing with the sword. You know,
there's purpose behind it.
Yeah. So why don't we go on and just talk about? We'll start with Shicho.
Okay.
When you were working on Shicho, because you were showing us some of your notes and stuff like that. Yeah, bring us through that as you were going through that. You were mentioning.
Yeah, I was thinking. I got my old notes out. The first thing I kind of like really drew is like this kind of drawing.
Okay.
Like I just asterisked up the body, and I thought like, okay, without making things complicated, how can I just kind of go through draw through the body in really broad strokes that, you know, really kind of everyone can see. You know, like just really, you know, nothing super like, you know, I think it's really easy when you are inspired by something to make it overly complex. And
right.
So every time I ran into that, I would like distill it down and distill it down and distill it down and distill this down. And so it really became about editing to the most essential thing. And what that was always bringing everything to my like lower dantian, no matter what I was doing. It there, and I think if you go through the video, it always all my stuff just locks there, and I think as mechanical as that can look in the beginning, it also creates a situation for the new student to create sentences and vocabulary and grammar and stuff like that. And this is like, you know, 1 stop, you know, 1 cut, stop, 2 cut, stop, 3 cut, stop. So they could break it down in different, enough segments to get it without, and then once they started flowing, they could take those, you know, punctuations out.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, where there's that other video that I'm not sure a lot of people watch where I'm just like free flowing with one of the other guys who has like 2 sabers, and he's just like kind of like randomly attacking me, and I'm like kind of like just showing, you know, it's like the full, I think they call it the full tilt boogie or something. And you know, and I had no idea they were even like just filming. I was just like, okay, well, like how can I unlock this form? And you know, it was just like flowing and going. And then you see where the punctuation ends because it becomes an action more, you know. And a lot of it's just like fun and just playing around and just having a really good time. And the idea of, I think, creating a start, a motion, and then a stop was very important to me in communication, because I feel people can get very intimidated by very, very lengthy forms. Absolutely. Rather than just looking at very small sections. And that's one of the reasons that the sections are actually not all that long. And maybe why it's so successful is because they're just 3 very short sections.
Yeah.
You know, it's accessible, and yet at the same time it creates enough of a foundation that if someone really diligently practices it, I feel like they can go somewhere else wherever they need to go. And that was my absolute only goal with it.
Yeah. We have a tendency to chunk information when we're picking up something new. That's that process very nicely.
Yeah. There's another good argument for the stops. And we were talking about this today in the workshop. We'll put out a video for that soon too. So, and it's deceleration. The ability to stop, right? Physically speaking, your body is only going to allow you to move as fast and as strong as it is able to control, or as it thinks it is able to control. Right. So if you are, if you know, like when a lot of people, they're trying to break through speed barriers, and they get caught up. One of the best things to kind of regress back to and start doing deceleration stuff. What we call eccentric training, right? So instead of like if I'm trying to get my punches quicker, right, and more kind of together, one of the things that I can do is as this one goes forward, I move this one back, right, so that they're moving together. In Master Tongbei, which is the style that I practice now, we kind of look at like this as one piece, right? So that when one goes forward, the other goes back, right? So if I want this one to go forward harder, faster, whatever, I can do it with this. So if I throw this here and then this comes back as this goes forward, that equalization can get me more. So it's kind of counterintuitive, right?
It's like push pull. It's like taking a bow, and instead of like doing it this way, it's like doing it that way.
Right. Yeah. When I take a sword strike, we talk about overswing a lot of times. You don't want to overswing in a match because you're going to be open. Not in cutting. It's totally okay to finish behind you. But anyway, when you're in a match, you don't want to overswing because then you're hit me. So you want to work on stopping that arm, stopping that doing that deceleration. We did this up here. I'm just gonna get the stick. I got all my stuff right behind me. So we do these things where we take a stick, we hold it up here like this, and we just rotate it here. We bring it to our forehead, and then we bring it out. Now you can do that with a weighted stick. And when I post that video, everybody can laugh at me because I'm just getting off this really severe cold, so I could not lift this stupid bar.
For consideration, I'm not sick, and I had a hard time lifting it. It was challenging. Yeah.
It is heavy. I'm not going to lie there.
Good exercise. Really challenged us, and
Yeah.
we learned a little bit more about what our limitations are and what we can expect.
Yep.
Yeah, man, you start learning your limitations, and you know what you're kind of capable of more.
Yeah. But like when you're talking about the stops, that's very important, because those punctuations are not only are punctuations, but they're places where we can put in power and force physically. You know.
Yeah, it's my opera teacher, Chi Jing-Guo, when I was training with him, and when I first started learning the opera routines, like with the Monkey King, with Sun Wukong and then Lin Chong and stuff. Like I was kind of like going like crazy when I got up to speed with it. Like I was just like really getting into it. And he would be like, no, slow down. He's like, you're going too fast. The audience needs to see what you want to do, because they want to see how beautiful it is. And it's like, that's kind of, I'm like, oh, right. Like, right. Of course. Like if I'm going Bo Loco,
yeah,
I'm going to look like a squiggle to the untrained eye.
Yeah.
And he's really right about that. And so there has to be, and so there's like the stoppings create a reverb, they create a sustain, and they get to watch, and they also allow the practitioner who's new to create their own transitions.
True. Yes. You know, all of that is.
All of that is true.
Oh, yes, all that is true. It looks like Ben will not be joining us tonight. So
Sorry.
Sorry you could join us, Ben, but oh well. Such is life. We understand. Anyway, so yeah, absolutely. You know, breaking things up, because this is, I've always said this to people. Forms are not difficult things. Forms are they're just a string of basics put together in a sequence, right? And they're there to be analogous to something, but just really to give you a place to practice this stuff without having to be with a partner. But there's really nothing to them, you know? It's just one move after the other. And, you know, there's really nothing to that. What's difficult is, like you said, the basics, the posture, right? Because you can't tell if you're slouching or if you're moving correctly or anything like that. There's a very specific way to move. So like with your stops, and I don't know if you had those in the notes, were you focusing on the Dantian then?
Yeah. I was just talking earlier that it was really important that every motion come to the center.
Right.
Come to the lower Dantian. You know, even if passing through either, it just really comes there. So every step and every motion just has that follow through and connection. So no matter what type of advanced techniques followed, it was instilled from the beginning with the practitioner or the student that kind of embodied philosophy, you could say.
Yeah. So, yeah, like we end up pretty much, all of us tend to do the same things. This is my book here.
That's part of the creative process of things is you start just, you gotta scribble a bunch of stuff down all the time and just, you know, breath is your friend. It's like weird. It's like the midnight notebook. You wake up in the middle of the night and you write some crazy stuff down.
Yeah, and then you read it the next morning. You're going,
that's all part of it, and then it's like it's really good, you know.
Yeah. So yes. So that's kind of introduction, I guess, into things.
Yeah.
When we're talking about, like, when we came up with Shicho, and you came up with the Shicho and everything, And I'll admit, obviously we had to base some of it off of yours, right? Um, but it's funny that there aren't more in my mind.
That's really interesting that you say that, because in order to, it's something that I talk a lot about with my artist friends and with my dad, who's also a visual artist. And in creating within a tradition, it's like you have to have a lot of courage to create. And you have to not have a masterpiece complex. And what happens, I think, is that people are, quite frankly, people just don't want to look dumb. They don't want to get criticized, or like they don't want to get made fun of, because someone's going to come along and be like, oh, that's like the dumbest stuff I've ever seen. Or they're going to put some random comment on YouTube or something that's just detrimental, and usually probably not very productive, and just kind of, maybe they're saying might make some sort of sense, but it's, but comments are usually just kind of, for the most, a lot of word vomit. They just kind of vomit out, and they're hit for the most part. And there's not a dialogue. It's not a conversation. And if you don't have a center to deal with that, or a thick skin to deal with that, it can be unnerving, and especially to the novice who's just trying to learn how to create.
Yes. Yes.
If you've created things for a very long time and have had a mentor through the creative, because I've had mentors as a composer and as a dancer and as a martial artist. When I created this, I didn't care about the feedback, because it wasn't about that.
Right.
I didn't need a justification. What I needed was the people who I was doing it was just making like an online tutorial for, I'm putting my headphones on, making a online for the people that was just in the fan club in New York, right back with the NYJ. It just have something to reference. Like, I had no other goals other than that.
Right.
And what I think stops people from creating their own stuff is not the fact that it's good or bad. It's that the fact that they reach a certain point and then they don't have a place to go to have a conversation to expand their palette.
Yeah.
If you start creating, you need people of like mind to have a dialogue. And if you're just like just twirling the sword around and you're doing this, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, because you have no biofeedback, no relationship, no like sangha or people with that, then you're just always going to play the same four chords. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And criticism and critique and those kind of things are difficult, but they're also necessary. And they can be done constructively without candor or, massive amounts of ego or cruelty.
Sure.
But it takes skill to do those things.
The challenge of the comment thread is that it's usually not constructive criticism. It's
just criticism.
Yeah.
It's just not even criticism. It's just insults.
Yeah.
When are they giving these comments? They're probably on the toilet or something. I mean, like they're taking a dump and they're like watching it, and then they do some text thing or something. Just like there's a thoughtlessness. It's like there's a thoughtlessness to interaction in that way that I find kind of really funny.
Yeah. Well, one of the best comments I got was, this is literally how it went. It was like, if I could offer some constructive criticism, perhaps you should get some instruction before you try to do your experiments. And it's just like, you understand that's not constructive at all, right? Just telling me, like, what?
Yeah, but that's also like a view of the masterpiece complex, like as if your experiments are able to produce the perfect result.
Right.
The whole point of experiments for the most part is to see what succeeds and what fails, right? Because we only learn by making mistakes. So
Yep.
that's fine.
I wouldn't want to downplay that there are people who offer authentic comments, who are curious, who
Yes.
like information, who have valid, valuable information to offer, which they do share.
Totally.
Not that there is a stream of unending negativity. That's what we tend to remember more.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. When I really think about it, it's like there's actually always more positive than negative, because I don't think anyone really digs on negativity. I think they, when you look at kids are always trying to help each other out for the most part, and I think that's indicative in our nature. And having my own kid, I see that all the time. He's always like a helpful little dude. And I think in looking at things like that, I think it's important to remember in an essential nature, hopefully within every human being, there's that want to be part of something and making it grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, that's me getting my Buddha on right there.
Well, the people who have engaged positively are the ones that we continue to connect with, and the ones
That's right, man.
that allow us to all continue to learn from each other and to share the information that we've learned and that we're developing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's going to happen when we get together too. So again,
this is part of that process, and I think the acknowledgement of that is like super important, because then when people watch this or they're watching it now, they realize that there's a heart behind it that works that way, and the spiritist about it that works that way, and it's that's good.
Yeah, no, I it's going to be a really
Going to be a blast.
Oh yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be something that I think you and I have been looking forward to creating.
Yeah.
Just to get a bunch of people to come together and just do stuff.
I'm thinking for our next talk, maybe I should have I'd like to be able to share some movement or something.
Yeah, we can definitely figure out something there.
Yeah, do something like that so people can see kind of like a process, and also think about, one thing that came to mind is, what do you edit? And, maybe the people watching now, if they think of questions they want to send in, it's like, wow, well, what do you choose to put in and what do you choose not to put in? And how much of it is like intellect and acumen, and how much of it is intuitive in the relationship? Because there's a lot of intuitive things that happen through continual practice that end up being in there that aren't a kind of like graphed out programmatic thought.
Right.
Both exist. So you have to have a relationship with both, but you also have to kind of balance both out, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing. So anybody watching here, anybody, before or after this has been recorded, if you're looking on the GoFundMe page, you want to give a little bit, you can see like some of the tiers. You'll be able to get kind of like behind the scenes what we're doing through the weekend and all of that kind of thing. So go check that out. But yeah, for our next, we'll be doing these periodically. So please keep the questions coming. Ask them here in the comments. We'll look at them here. If we don't even answer them, we'll answer them in the other video. You can visit us on Facebook and Twitter for a lesser extent, and Instagram and stuff. But but ask your questions. Let us know, and then when we come back, we'll try to give people a larger kind of picture.
Yeah, we really appreciate engaging with people who are interested in the conversation, interested in sharing, getting involved.
Yes, if you're just going to comment and tell us to get a good teacher, you can stop, not bother. But if you're into it and everything, let us know. We would love to hear from everybody. We love how everything's expanding and that we have more people to talk about this with, and that it's getting more popular. And so that's all great. All right, we're 40 minutes into it, so why don't we start with some Form 5 stuff?
Cool.
Talked about Shicho, where and people who've been following us, we know we have our 4 pillars. That's the majority of the stuff we've been putting out have been Shicho, Mukashi, Soreitsu, Otaru. These are our 4 pillars. You take these are our basics. Okay, so this is all just basics. You learn these four, that's your basics. Put them together and you get your Form 5. So this is where we get into what we call synthesis, where we're taking different things, looking at the relationship between Ataru and Soresu, right? The movements are very, very much alike. So what's the difference? How do you tell a parry from a strike? You know, that kind of thing. And what does that mean, especially in an altercation with another person? Now, the way we have our Form 5 set up, we've got Shen first, which is kind of like our catch-all big polyglot style. And then as we are moving on to Gemso, as we're working here with you too, is we're going to try to go for a little more dueling centric. Probably make it more like a long swordish or historical martial arts type of thing, you know.
It's where some of our earlier influence came from.
Yeah, and coincidentally, you most of your material is also coming from a longsword, and a longsword that we actually have kind of in common.
Yeah, and it's you know, I keep thinking about it's like it's perseverance form, right? That's what they call it. Yeah, perseverance, and the sense of having a constant perception in engagement, or being able to just hang with the randori that's going on. And I think that and also the ability to use one's technique to put your opponent in a disadvantage, not only just with sword on sword or saber on saber or melee technique against melee technique, but also in like this, how the space that you're fighting in, like backing them into a corner or putting them in the lower part of the ground or whatever you think works for you. Do you know what I mean? And having your technique be able to do that. And I think that's the tier shift for me. It's like all of a sudden your sword techniques has more of an overreaching strategy of manipulating that which is just outside of clashing blades together and dueling each other in a strict, like, linear sense. Like all of a sudden it becomes way more three-dimensional and way more strategic, and you start using your environment and everything. You know, anyone who's really experienced, like, starts to naturally think that way. You know, however, when you're progressing through any type of training, I think there's a tier shift that happens when the student goes, "Oh wow, I guess I can really start doing this. This even a simple thrust is going to really change the way the person moves. Now I'm not even concentrating on hitting them with the thrust, but I got them to move right or whatever. Now I can do something different."
Yeah.
And for me, Gemso is kind of the and what I want to design with the sword form, and my experience from working and seeing Yu Cheng Hui taught me about that moving through space, especially because he has so many incredible defensive moves in his form. Like, he's moving backwards and still attacking at the same time, which I find really fascinating, and also very unique.
Yeah. Yu Cheng Hui's sword form is also a form that I've learned, and we've had to put it in a little different place, but we won't get into that. We won't confuse the issue for people. But yeah, what you're saying there is definitely true. If we look, like, the way we look at it, you know, our Form 2, Makashi, is our dueling set. It talks about specifically the dynamic between two people. And it goes for this ideal between two people, which is a straight line, right? And that goes along with canon. It also goes along with, you know, basic fencing, that kind of thing. But as you progress in whatever weapon, whether it be messer or foil or anything like that, poleaxe or whatever, like you said, you get into these straight lines, right? And you're thinking about that. And you kind of learn how to pivot and how to aim, you know, all of that stuff. And you can shift and move out of place. And at some point, you have to put all of that kind of together so that things come, so that you can move through three-dimensional space.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to stand in one spot. They're going to be doing stuff to you. So like when we do spins and stuff like that, and I bring this up again because this is probably the most complained about thing that people see in forums. If people turn around 360, they lose their conniption, or they have a conniption fit or whatever. I don't know. I'm losing my metaphors here, but yeah, the whole point is not necessarily that I'm going to walk up to somebody, spin in a 360, and try to chop them in half. But during a match, if I'm in a bind and somebody pushes through me, they may spin me around, right? And I may have to reorient myself in space really, really quick so that I can get that, so I can defend myself from their attack.
Well, there's also a reason why dancers spot when they turn.
Right.
And if you look at a lot of martial artists, they don't know how to spot.
No.
So when you're in an environment where you're changing location all the time, well, let's say all of a sudden you're going to like try to like run up a ramp then, and you have to orientate yourself three-dimensionally. I mean, how many people train like that, like run up a ramp with a sword? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like everything's been kind of like dojo-fied, like, oh, everything's going to have a duel on a tatami or something like that. And it's like, no, dude, like, come on, like, let's be a little bit more creative and have a little bit more fun than that. You know, like jump on a rock or something, you know, oh, your stance is too narrow. For what? A rock at this angle? My stance is too narrow now or too deep? Like, okay, sorry about that. Like what are you thinking? Like, where's the root of your critique? Because there has to be. Yeah, it's silly to me. Those things are silly to me. It's just like I can do it because I can do it.
Part of the point of having these solid foundations, these strong basics.
Yeah. Oh, you hear my kid? He's talking to me.
Yeah. There we go. Go ahead.
No, it was that was it. Part of the reason that you want to have a strong bases in your foundational techniques and forms is so that you can adapt them to unusual situations.
Yeah. Oh, Damon, you got to unmute yourself. There
my son is really into having be part of the conversation. Yes, Marcus.
Yeah.
He got his sidekick today or yesterday. Hold on a second.
Okay. Well, he goes and we can unlock the screen there. While he goes and does that, we'll kind of bring you up to date on kind of what we do. Now, the 4 and 5 that we've put out some gemstone stuff, right? You put out some stuff. It's mostly from a German longsword-ish background thus far. We'll be adding to that kind of stuff, and you'll probably want to do some stuff with it as well.
Yeah, it's been years since I first did that, and I've changed, and so my perspectives have changed. Which means I may want to make some changes. And you've also released some material,
right? Yeah,
Gemso as well.
Yeah, so it's there's lots of different.
Back.
Put you to put my head on.
You want to put your hat on too?
This one.
Okay, you can play with that. That's fine.
Maybe I can put this side.
Marcus, we're talking about swords.
Special guest.
He has a little practice wooden one.
Excellent.
Nice. Yeah, we're starting. And he got his sidekick the other day, which was like super awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, you know, comes to like teaching people on the whole spectrum of things, you learn a lot when you see how fast your little 2.5-year-old picks up stuff when you're just thinking about it. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, look, we have gone from, you know, as far as like the getting together, like we started the Sword Lab thing in 2010. We were just trying to get it together. We were trying to figure out how can we spar together.
Okay, ready? Marcus, are you ready? Are you doing it? He's practicing with his sword.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, the lightsabers we basically picked up because they were a convenient
That's me in a school.
add. You know what I mean?
I do.
So, but now we've got, oh my God, I mean, we've got fetters, steel gem, and all this great stuff now. Why do we still do the lightsabers? Well, because you know what? People are still freaked out about this. They don't want to get hit by one of these.
And plus, the lightsabers are just like really fun. They make things so much more fun and accessible. It's great.
Yeah, I can, and I did a blog post about this too. I've seen this a million times that other martial artists will, like, you know, they say this to me all the time. Oh, what are you doing that stupid lightsaber stuff for you? It's like, I'll give you a challenge. Let's go to the local mall. You bring your swords, I'll bring my lightsabers, and let's see how many children you and I can get doing this.
That's hilarious.
You know what?
Uh-huh.
That you see crowns and to do the crowns see the deal.
That's right,
To
Marcus.
be the X-Men to come on the
Children.
Yes.
This is the
Yep, it's like the super youngling dude. It's like rad. Awesome. Well, I might be hitting tilt land, so I should probably head out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we've covered all the high points that we wanted to hit tonight, and
Yeah.
and we'll have more opportunities to talk.
Absolutely. We're going to do it again. Bring you more information on kind of what we're doing next time. We'll maybe even show you some stuff from it.
Yeah, it'd be good to show some movement, and I'm going to keep digging. I still have a lot of other journals. I just kind of grabbed these 2 ones out, you know, and but I have other ones that are like more, you know, thicker.
I got my map to tell you
Where's our map taking us?
that you, but we'll know if it's really too special, and then we'll know if it's really special, and then we'll know if it's really.
Marcus, let me finish up with here, and then we can go. Okay.
Right.
But
Hey, you know what? Maybe the treasure in the living room.
Mhm.
Can we go look for it in the living room?
yes.
All right, let's
Okay.
go.
Say
Okay.
bye-bye.
Come on, bye.
See you later.
Thanks for visiting.
Thanks for visiting.
Thank you for sharing your family with us, Damon.
Get the treasure in the living room. Quick.
Let's tell Daddy
Just
it's
be
bad.
ready. Later, small people. I don't get
Nice.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, we've also
All
got.
right.
I brought this here too. This is one of these manuals that we work from over here, which
I think you sent me some like PDFs of that. That's pretty rad, dude.
yeah, this is a pretty cool drawings.
Mhm.
All right. Well then, I guess we will wrap it up here for this evening. Thank you, Damon, for sharing everything with us. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully, you will see this on your feed and go check out the GoFundMe. We're really hoping to get some good stuff down and really have an amazing time. And give a lot of stuff to back to the community, and of course, help and honor somebody who probably is
Been pretty
pretty influential as a founder of this entire thing. I don't think any of us would be doing this if it weren't for you, Damon, because I say this. I mean, I was just watching Reclaiming the Blade. I saw the special feature. I was like, whoa, you can fight with these now? And then that was it. And it was you who was doing it. So
that was the springboard that went from the sword lab to.
Well, it's been great to be part of it, and I'm really glad that we can continue things on. And
Yeah. No, it's great to have you back. Back to the
Nice.
floor.
Cool. All right. Well, it's until next time, my friends.
All right.
Okay.
We'll see you all later. Have a great day.
Happy savoring.
Happy savoring.
Happy savoring.